Ms. Loretta Boson, a patient advocate, she requested to be here, and we're happy to have you. Please introduce yourself. Hopefully I got your name correct. And,
All right, so first, thank you guys so much for allowing me to speak on behalf of the thousands of patients now that I represent. I hope that as you see me sitting here today that you will realize that this isn't just about me or my son, but this is about the issues that are happening across our nation. So last year I was a physician and hospital contractor and also a health insurance agent. Is it Mr. Hickman? So you had mentioned that patients could just select a different plan, something along those lines. I want to make everyone aware what's going on in our nation is that most people do not have the option to just select another plan. That is also the same with our employer-sponsored plans, as we have 3 PBMs that now own about 80% of the market. Most of those are forcing to mail order pharmacy for certain life-saving medications. So today, like I said, I've laid down everything because my son's life was risked due to mail order pharmacy. I'm now an advocate for over 78,000 people who I feel like, unfortunately, across the many state boards across our nation, they're not being represented. So if you remember one thing when you hear the words mail order pharmacy, after hearing me speak, I hope that each time you hear these words that you will recall every time you hear mail order pharmacy, lives are at risk. Also, there was some talk about our elderly and health literacy. I want to make it very clear, health literacy goes beyond just our elderly. There are people as young as my son with chronic conditions, and they also have health literacy issues and ensuring that they have the options to keep their face-to-face relationship with their pharmacist is very crucial. Whenever you trust your pharmacist, you share more information than what you would with someone who's just shown on a television screen or over the phone. Whenever you call, you get a different person every time. When you trust them, you ask the additional questions. You can't do that as well over the phone. So also, before I get started, I want to remind all of you sitting in your seats today that the reason why you are here is supposed to be for the patients. And if you are sitting here for any other reason, it's the wrong reason. Pharmaceutical care goes beyond just placing medications in the hands of a pharmacist. Although I'm going to speak about temperatures, please know that after starting the petition, my supporters have taught me that there are many other issues other than just temperatures. Every day I see needless life-threatening delays. I see conditions that worsen and patients literally suffering due to the delays that are absolutely no fault of the patient. People are going without eating. People are not getting their insulins on time. People who are even getting their medications with ice packs, their medications are still arriving warm and frozen. And then the medications are not working. Once the physicians replace that medication with one that hasn't been exposed to the extreme temperatures, then the patient recovers. It just shows that there is an issue. So medications can get lost, stolen, sent to the wrong address, left in unsafe areas where any child can get the medication. Someone recently mentioned error rate. When you see error rate, you may see a number, but when I see error rate, I see human life. And if we were to pack in the number of people that I have received their stories from, and I carry their stories on my back, that's human lives. There'd be so many, we could not fit them all in this room today. So I just believe that no one should be forced to mail order pharmacy, nor should they ever be forced to these vending machines. But unfortunately, that's happening. So if you guys cannot control the PBMs to stop them from giving us choice, then it's important that you protect the patients. So my son's life, he received a transplant at the age of 2 after getting the flu. His liver failed, and a hero, a 3-year-old little girl, saved his life. In 2012, mail order pharmacy wasn't forced, so I decided, I heard about how convenient mail order pharmacy was supposed to be, so I decided I would try it. And not long, 2 weeks after, I received his medications on a 102-degree day without any protection, which now I know. I have CVS several times saying that that's how they ship all children's medications all year round. My son ended up in transplant rejection. I was hearing again that we could lose him. So I had this burden on my heart that said I could never risk that. I felt, there's a very good chance that this wasn't safe, but I couldn't prove it. I didn't know for sure. I just assumed that someone else was making sure that this was safe. The bottle was very warm, and as a mom who at one time trusted the mail order pharmacy and her regulators, I was hesitant, but I told myself that they wouldn't do it if it wasn't safe. I looked at the temperature storage guidelines on the bottle, but nothing made it question it more than whenever we were at the hospital, hearing that his life was on the line. And this year, like millions of other patients, this time we were told by CVS Caremark that we could only use mail order pharmacy to get coverage of his life-savings medications. From the past, I was already terrified. Temperatures were already getting in the 90s, so I begged CVS for an ice pack. I said, please, if you're going to force me to this, please just put it on an ice pack. It's extremely hot outside already. It came with nothing. So here I had no option but to trust them, because it was our only option of coverage. And I know that many say, oh, it's not forced. But whenever you don't have any other option of coverage, it's forced, because for most Americans, we cannot afford to pay 100% out of pocket. So that if this next part didn't happen, I wouldn't be here today. Right after my son's labs elevated again outside of the normal range, so I had to see the proof that my son's medications were safe being stored at these temperatures. I found out that the proof was non-existent. Most people prefer independent pharmacy. That was per a recent Consumer Reports study. If we're here for patients, and if our regulators are here for patients, why is that not being heard? PBMs, the access issue doesn't need to be resolved with the vending machines and forced mail order pharmacy. The issue is that we need access to our independent pharmacists, who are being closed rapidly due to forced mail order pharmacy, low reimbursements to our community pharmacists. That's the access issue. I'm going to beg you to please stop ignoring us. If PBMs are forcing this, you guys have to protect us. So I fought for my son's life, and now I'm going to fight for not only the life of his life, but for all patients, all mothers, to ensure that no life is ever again unnecessarily risked due to forced or steered mail order pharmacy. I filed a complaint. This is how determined they are to force you. So I filed a complaint with the Department of Insurance, and due to the plan being self-insured, it landed into the hands of the U.S. Department of Labor, who said that although forcing mail order pharmacy is unethical, it's not illegal. CVS did offer to send it to the local pharmacy, but at this point I didn't trust them, so I made the decision to ask, well, how are you going to ship that medication to the local pharmacy? Are you going to ship it the same way on the same hot trucks? I was told yes. I said no, and I didn't want CVS at that point. I was angry at them. I didn't trust them. I had no other option of coverage to go anywhere else unless I paid 100%. So my son's trusted hospital pharmacist, who fills children's transplant medications every day and works closely with my son's physicians and knows my son and his complex health history, was no longer an option. I tried to file an appeal. As a health insurance agent, I've never lost an appeal, and I deal with the marketplace a lot, so it's difficult. But I was losing the one for my son. At one point, CVS Caremark said that there was nothing to even appeal because there wasn't even an opt-out option. My son's physician, who works hard every day trying to save the lives of children, even tried to file an appeal for us to pick up the medications at the pharmacy at which it is filled, and the physician's claim was denied. It was not until a local news story took up our issue, that's whenever we were fine. The following day that the news station called them, we were able to get the coverage now for the hospital pharmacist. So I don't trust CVS, I don't trust Optum, and I don't trust Express Scripts with the lives of patients at this time. So how hot do the UPS trucks get? They get up to 180 degrees. That's per Teresa Kalinka, another petitioner has a petition for UPS trucks to air condition the storage area of the truck. Her husband had a stroke, and that happens frequently throughout our nation. She's one of our greatest supporters. She has pictures of the trucks reaching temperatures over 120 degrees. This isn't new. 20 years ago, a Managed Care magazine article talking about mail order pharmacy discussed these concerns, discussed a USPS study showing that trucks reach up to 170 degrees. Another story shows mailboxes reach 150 degrees on a 100-degree day. Would you want your child's life-saving medications sitting in those conditions? Would you want to be forced to do that? I don't want to be forced, and I'm begging you not to force another mom, because I wouldn't do that to you or your loved one. Please don't do it to anybody else. So I'm mostly concerned about our children's liquid oral medications. Some medications have additional storage guidelines, but not all. And I talked to medical chemists that said that, because I asked, well, could we just have FDA, require these manufacturers test these medications at a higher level? They said that won't be done, because it's known that most medications, once they reach outside that range, that they start to destabilize. It's more than just potency. So recently I did find out that now my son's on capsules, and they've been tested and proven safe for 107 degrees for 2 days, and I confirmed this with the manufacturer. That means that I am okay with my son's medications being sent without protection, being exposed to 107 degrees for 2 days, as long as the exposure of 107 degrees means that potency is not lost, shelf life is not shortened, bioavailability is not altered, and the ingredients of both active and inactive ingredients do not become toxic. Those are all issues whenever our medications are stored at these temperature extremes, and nobody is warning the patients or protecting them. I will. After connecting with the UPS drivers, we know that the trucks are getting hotter than 107 degrees. We know that the mailboxes are getting hotter than 107 degrees. Yet patients and mothers of children are receiving room temperature medications in hot, non-temperature controlled vehicles and in a bag, and only a bag on the coldest and the hottest of days, without any option of protecting their child's life-saving medications or their life-saving medications. If temperatures don't matter, why are they listed on the label? Why is the mail order pharmacy completely ignoring the terms excursions permitted from 59 to 86 degrees? The independent and hospital pharmacists would be heavily fined if the medications go outside of these proven safe limits. Why is the mail order pharmacy held to a different standard? In my research, as I looked to make sure that this is safe, I found out that the mail order pharmacy are the only ones telling patients that it's safe, that these medications are okay in these temperature extremes. The FDA, the manufacturer does the testing, said that they get calls like this every winter and every summer, and they suggested that the mail order pharmacy go by the standards proven safe by the manufacturer. Unfortunately, they pointed me to the state board, which most across our nation, some don't even have any legislation on medications in the extreme temperatures during excursions. So the manufacturer who does all the testing also said that my medication should be discarded after they were delivered in these extreme temperatures. Yet the mail order pharmacy told me to continue giving my son the medications. This isn't the first time. Recently, Forbes reported this in 2015. Recently here in Florida, there was a breast cancer patient who was made news headlines because her breast cancer medications were shipped in only a bag. I asked an expert medical chemist about the additional stability studies again, and he said that that's not going to happen, and these medications can be at risk, and we should not have to be forced to lose any, we shouldn't be forced to a less quality product. We should be able to protect that medication at all extremes. After the news report, I asked the Millwater Pharmacy if there was anything proven that it was safe, that these medications, that my son's medications were safe at these extreme temperatures. Now, this is after 30 to 40 calls. Finally, I got the answer. She said, I cannot speak. If she did say, though, if the capsules are melted, which here in Florida I have united with patients who have stated they have actually received their medications melted. And if they're melted, they said, then they will return, they'll accept the medications back. But we have to realize that there's an area between when the medications melt, where they can look fine on the outside and still lose integrity. I asked her about the temperatures in the UPS truck. She said, I cannot control UPS. This is all on a YouTube video, by the way. The recording is for everyone to hear. She also said, she alleged that USP has not determined that medications need to be handled differently. That was false. I reached out to USP. I received written communication from USP stating that from Desmond Hunt, who actually writes the storage recommendations about temperatures during excursions. He said he would recommend, or speaking on behalf of USP, would recommend that medications only be stored in the temperature range proven safe by the manufacturer, written on the manufacturer's label of 59 to 86 degrees. I even made sure, am I seeing the same label? Am I seeing the same temperature storage guidelines? He said, yes. 59 to 86 degrees, excursion permitted. That does apply also to shipping. So how do we fix this? To 100% eliminate all of these risks with mail-order pharmacy, patients should have the options to receive the medications the safest way. And the safest way is not forced mail-order pharmacy, and the safest way is not through a vending machine. The safest way is through the hands of our trusted pharmacist. Business should be earned, not forced. Even my son's transplant nurse stated that she cannot keep up with all the issues with mail-order pharmacy, and she is working on transplanting patients, and coordinating the entire transplant procedure. And here she's pulled away. She said it takes her several times to fax the prescription, and then the medication that the doctor used to be able to write the script for, and they could go fill it in 30 minutes. Now they're having to wait 5 to 7 days to get that same medication. That's not convenient. A recent ER nurse also stated they see patients frequently due to issues of not receiving the medications on time. And I don't understand how that's saving anybody money. And that'd be interesting with the mergers, how that will affect the health plan. My suggestion, number one, is to make it illegal to force mail order. Even with the changing laws related to temperature, the mail order pharmacy cannot predict the exact trip of each package. When packages are lost, delayed, theft, which is, mailboxes, there are just too many uncontrollable and unpredictable factors with mail order pharmacy. When we pick up our medications at our trusted pharmacy, that risk, it's gone. So we need to make sure that it's an option. If it's not an option, then you guys have to protect us. I believe that the attorney generals in each state really need to hold the PBMs responsible for all the delays, and also the lack of warning patients and mothers that their child could be at risk from their medications being delivered like this. No one warned me. Also, there needs to be monitoring the temperatures in the back of the vehicles, not just the outside temperature. I see these great formulas like Express Scripts that they go by, but a lot of them just monitor the outside. We're not monitoring how hot the trucks are getting. Currently, laws do not restrict how long these packages can be left in these temperature extremes. Sometimes they're being left on porches for days and mailboxes for days. And even one thing that breaks my heart is the VA. I see their tracking numbers, and some of them are 2 weeks sometimes in these conditions. Also, we need transparent monitoring. We need monitoring not just of refrigerated medications, but monitoring of the temperatures that each medication is exposed to. For example, a sensor that would alarm the patients if the temperatures were exposed to extreme temperatures outside the guidelines. These monitors should be placed in the medication bottle and not outside of the packages. The excursions in these trucks, you also have to acknowledge that there are two different areas in which we must monitor the medication temperatures, and that's from the warehouses to the patient homes, and then also the time frame that the package leaves the delivery driver's hands is placed into the patient's hands. Currently, there's no warning to patients that their medications will lose potency. No one's responsible for these issues of not just medications losing potency, but after shipment in these extreme temperatures, there's life-threatening delays. When patients are only offered this as an option of coverage, patients should not have to be the ones responsible for the hospital bills. They shouldn't be the ones responsible for all the additional risks that mail-order pharmacy poses. And mail-order pharmacy should be fined for each life-threatening delay and for not warning patients and their physicians that their medications were properly stored. If you decide to change any Florida laws related to medication and temperatures, please don't include blanket language such as room temperature medications can be exposed to extreme temperatures for short durations, because medications like children's liquid oral medications and medications like blood pressure medications will still be at risk of losing potency. Laws must change to ensure that people have the options in their coverage to receive their medications the safest way through the hands of their trusted pharmacist. After starting the petition, I saw many news articles that's currently hitting headlines, like in Ohio, where I look about the unfair reimbursements. So I looked to see what CVS Caremark reimbursed their own pharmacy versus what they reimbursed my son's hospital pharmacy. I found out they reimbursed their own pharmacy $180 for the same exact medication, same manufacturer, same dosage that they had reimbursed the hospital pharmacy $20 for. I find this unacceptable. After connecting with the pharmacists who protect our medications, who give grandmothers and patients with chronic illness crucial face-to-face consultation, I'm appalled that this is being allowed to happen in the United States of America. It appears that profits are coming before patients. When your life depends on these medications, all it takes is for one delay. One time of a patient's medication being ruined from the lack of temperature monitoring. One time of medications being lost or stolen. One time for a child to ingest the medications left on doorsteps and in mailboxes. And that's a patient's life. Or it could also mean that a life could be tragically altered. This is not convenience. This is life-threatening, and no one should be forced to take this additional risk. Adam Fine recently said that this isn't a widespread problem. I argue that most don't even know this is why their conditions are worsening. Physicians may not even think about the storage of the medications as a root cause, because no one is warning them or the patients. My son's life was at risk, and I know now that it's not just my son. What would happen to me if I delayed my son's life-saving medication? What would happen to us as parents if although the manufacturer stated that my son's medication could lose potency and he could die if I left his medications in a hot truck or in a hot mailbox, and I decided to do it anyway? It's time that we hold the mail-order pharmacy and the PBMs responsible. Each life is important. How many patients' lives does it take to matter to the PBMs and to the mail-order pharmacy? As I share the patient story every single day, I disagree with Adam Fine. I disagree with the PBMs and the mail-order pharmacies because many patients' lives are at risk. I will beg, I will plead, I will scream, I will cry for every patient who has told me I'm too sick to fight. Some who have urgently cried. Sometimes I get people that are just begging me to help. And you know what? I can't help each one of them. I can't do everything to protect them because that's supposed to be your job. It's not mine. But the most important thing to hear today is to remember that, this business is supposed to be about patients, not profits. So please just protect the patients. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for board members. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your story. We definitely appreciate that.
You're welcome. Keep working until it gets fixed. I will not stop. I will lose everything I have because people's lives are more important than anything that I own. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Second presentation, Mr. Wright.
Well, is this something we're going to discuss or put it off to another time? Because I think she brought up some valid issues that maybe the rulemaking or what have you, we could discuss it. It's obviously an issue, so I think we need to, it is our duty to protect the people of the state. Dive into this further. Is this something we're going to do today, now, or we're going to put it off to another meeting? Or because I agree, I don't think we should just hear her, thank her, and move on. It's something we should look into.
I think you.
I just want to say thank you so much for your support. We need additional help to get the word out about this issue. It would be great if people would start uniting with 2 to 3 others in their area who have had issues with mail order pharmacy and start contacting your legislators and state boards of pharmacy. I do have an email address if you have your story you would like to tell, your concerns. I have that listed here. It's .mandatorymailorder@yahoo.com. You can also reach me on Twitter. I also have the issues with mail order pharmacy page. Feel free to also contribute to my GoFundMe page I just started. You can also sign the petition on change.org to get updates on this issue. Again, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. I couldn't do this without all of our supporters.